What's going on, guys? Thank you for stopping by. I wanted to poll the world, the Twitterverse specifically, and then also provide a video that's going to take into consideration what type of content that we'll be covering here in the near future. So, for those of you that have been following along for a while, all know that I am studying for the Service Provider CCIA lab. The lab has been booked. It's coming up soon, so I've been studying like mad, trying to get it all done. I've actually created a bunch of content that I'll be releasing here very, very soon. But in the meantime, I wanted to go out and have a little bit of fun and say like, hey, what do you guys want to cover? You know, what are some of the areas that you might be struggling in and things like that? So what we're going to be doing, and you can see that the results there, it's about an hour left. So let's go ahead and break down kind of what you guys want to see. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out my handy dandy calculator here. So sorry about the video there. My computer's under just a touch of load. So the calculator. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this guy up. So we're going to do this. So we're just going to go back to a standard calculator. Because we're going to figure out, I want to know how many of you asked for what. So we have 47 votes. That's actually pretty good considering. So we have 47. We're going to say times 0.45. So 21 of you asked for IPsec VPN. So this is going to be a combination of site-to-site, point-to-multipoint, and remote access. So when it comes to site-to-site, that'll be your iOS router to iOS router site-to-site, your ASA to ASA site-to-site, and your iOS and ASA site-to-site. I did do a little bit of research, and I found out that the Firepower Threat Defense also supports site-to-site VPN. So once I lab that up and I see exactly how it works, I might include that as an option down the road. But as of right now, I'm specifically focusing on the technology and not necessarily a platform. So we have that. So 21 of you asked for IPsec VPN, so that's what we're going to start off with. And then we have 47 times 0.36. So 17 of you asked for overlay tunneling and LISP. So overlay tunneling is going to include, but not limited to, things like GRE and LISP, and there's a few other technologies out there that are, like, I'd like to dive into a little bit of IPv6 with, like, the rapid deployment and stuff like that, so we'll be taking a look at those as we're going along. And because we would have already smashed IPsec VPN, we might as well throw a little bit of VPN or encryption, maybe a little bit of high availability, fast failover type stuff into the overlay tunneling and LISP. And last but certainly not least, we have 47 votes times 0.15. And so roughly 7 of you asked for FTD and ASA. Well, I've already done a fair amount on ASA, but I have no problem going back through it and doing some more. Now, what we need to know, which I really can't ask in a Twitter poll, is there something specific to each one of those areas that you'd like to see covered? Meaning, when we talk about the different areas that are out there, there are a number of different things we can talk about. So basically what I want to make sure is I'm not just covering things that I like, we're covering things that you might need. So an example of that, when we talk about IPsec VPN, we'll do iOS and ASA. So iOS and iOS XE, basically like a Dynamips router, the 7200 series running in GNS3, or a CSR 1000V running, maybe slightly older code, 3.14, 3.17, and even the newest stuff. I definitely want to be taking a look at that. That's going to be your site-to-site VPN. Then we have point-to-multipoint. Point-to-multipoint is going to be including things like DMVPN, FlexVPN, EasyVPN, GetVPN. And then we'll talk about remote access VPN and how that works with like ASA, iOS, whether it's SSL or AnyConnect. We'll take a look at those different variations. So that's basically what I'm planning for with that. And the overlay tunneling is a little bit different because that's going to be assuming that you don't already have any type of setup in place. So obviously we're going to start off with LISP because LISP is an overlay. And we'll take a look at things like GRE tunneling, which GRE tunneling, pardon me, has been kind of beat to death, if you ask me. But it's different ways you can implement it. Now, there was a Twitter flow that I was tagged in just recently that I was going back and forth with a gentleman. And I kind of got to a point where I really couldn't offer any more services, whether or not, like advice and direction, because the person got really specific as if I was the engineer in charge of a deployment or a project that this engineer was a customer of. So I've done this several times in production, but normally I tend to stop once I've finished answering the question, and I would have to go lab it up. That's where he would have to come into play. So I'll be taking a look at a little bit of that. I'll post the Twitter feed and the specific questions because this is all public. You guys can go research it, so it's not like I would have to ask the person for permission. So with that, and then FTD and ASA. FTD is not that complicated to really work with. If you can download the bits and you can load it up inside of VMware or inside of Eve. I've done it in both. It's a little sluggish in Eve because you've got so many layers of virtualization coming into play, but I find it pretty useful. It's actually, in my opinion, easier to work with inside of Eve because you get to see all the physical connections and you kind of lay things out the way that they need to be laid out, and you get a 90-day license. So I probably will download the latest and greatest version of FTD here in the near future. But FTD, since it was the least popular method, that'll be one of the last things that I cover. Now, I've already covered ASA in pretty deep detail, so if you want to go look on YouTube, you can go check out that and find out that. Just click on my... I've left plenty of... I've added my YouTube link inside of my bio and on, any information about me. So click on that, and it'll bring you over to YouTube. I will be releasing a ton of service provider technologies here in the near future, and I'm not doing it underneath the service provider and then like the title being service provider. It'll be MPLS Layer 3 VPN or MPLS Traffic Engineering, MPLS Layer 2 VPN, etc., etc. And the reason I'm doing it that way is because that it's not tied to a specific track. It's just me talking about the technology, but in the video it's going to be obvious to service provider. So that's pretty much what we're going to be doing in the near future. If you guys have any questions, comments, you'd like to see a specific video recorded, that's what the comments are for, okay? You guys need to let me know what you guys want to see. If it's, you want me to do something on F5 or Checkpoint or Palo Alto, those aren't technologies I'm really familiar with. So I can get a Palo Alto firewall running and I can look up some documentation to get a basic implementation of something working, but that's not really going to be a video that maybe you haven't seen it before and you want to see somebody walk through the, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps to get something up and running. But that's just going to be me just clicking radio buttons or what have you to get something running. It's not really going to be that useful because I won't be able to really explain what's happening on the back end because I won't really know. A lot of these technologies that I'm talking about here is stuff that I'm familiar with. I've deployed, I've labbed out, I've looked at the Wireshark captures, I've looked at the debugs, I know what's going on. So these are technologies that I'm familiar with that I can actually potentially help you get stronger at. So with that being said, I do plan on doing Palo Alto in the near future. One thing that anyone, well, at least in my opinion, trying to think of a better way of putting it, this is solely on me, right? So I'm the only one taking the time to learn the particular topic and doing a video on it. There might be others doing it, but they're not me. So whenever I get done with the CCIE, I typically want to completely disconnect from that particular track for a while because I spent so much time beating it that it needs to be put down for a little while and then picked back up later on. So normally what I will do is I will pick up another technology area. I really want to do Palo Alto. So the PSCNE, I think, Palo Alto Certified Security Network Engineer, I believe is a certification. I really want to go do that. So I probably will be doing some Palo Alto training in the future and showing you how to go through and set it all up. I also want to do VMware NSX. I think NSX is pretty freaking cool. I also have to update upgrade my VCP from 6.0 to 6.5. So I'll be doing, I have several months before that's actually due per se. But I plan on upgrading 6.0 to 6.5 and then 6.7 for the data center virtualization side. And then I want to go take the NSX VCP and do that. But I have to go through a bunch of training on NSX. And I'm one of those type of people that I want to go through and learn it end to end, and then dive into it. Now, a lot of people have been asking me recently, what have I been using to study with? What am I, what is the training companies and stuff like that? Well, lately it's been CBT Nuggets, a lot lately. And the reason why is because when you study for the SP, or when you study a bunch of Cisco technologies for so long, it just gets to the point where you're like, okay, I've had enough. I need a break. I need to switch gears and do something else. And it may not be because to me, I want to become wider and broader and more well-rounded. I don't want to be just known as a Cisco guy. So doing a little bit of server 2016, playing around with that, then diving into Palo Alto, then diving into VMware NSX. I think Horizon View, their desktop technology platform, is really freaking cool. So anything that I think is cool is stuff that I'm going to want to play with. Guess what? If I go start playing with it, I start putting videos on YouTube, and guess what you guys get to do? You guys get to come along on that journey with me. So that's what I plan on doing in the near future, and you guys will see stuff going on. I'm hoping to add another plaque over here soon. And once that plaque is there, that'll be service provider, and that one will be out of the way, and stuff like that. So, again, I'm going to reiterate this again because I want to make sure you guys, if you're still watching, you're 12 minutes in, thank you for hanging out with me. But one of the things that I want to make sure you do is if there's something specific when it comes to any one of the three major technologies, and if it's Cisco related, but not here, you could lay it out. Like, for instance, if you came and said, "Hey, Rob, I'd love you to do a little bit of ICE coverage of ICE." Don't ask me to do anything like data center or collaboration, because those are areas that I could talk generally about it. I also plan on doing a little bit of Viptela, so SD-WAN, and from the blogs that I've read and the videos that I've watched, there's a lot of things that need to be in place in order for Viptela to work correctly. And I have not gone through and seen how that stuff works yet. So I have to actually spend some time going through and seeing how that all works and seeing if I can actually get it to work the way that it needs to work. I've heard Viptela can be a nightmare to get working if you don't have the access that you need through Cisco in order to get it operational. I guess there's some licensing that's needed for the V edges. But irregardless of the situation, that's what I want to do, and I want to be able to test and play around with. So until next time, guys, thanks so much for stopping by. If you have not already done so, please hit the subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up. Leave a comment as to some of the things you'd like to see covered. It could be a long, lengthy comment, too. It could be, lay out this and a specific use case. And those are the ones that are easier for me to work with. If you put just a bullet point down saying, "Hey, Rob, I'd love to see you cover Get VPN." Okay, that's a large topic scope. If you were to say, "Hey, Rob, I'd like to see you cover, Flex VPN on a couple of routers, do the spoke-to-spoke configuration, and could you maybe throw in a connection where we have a user that connects to a branch office? Can you do something like that through a remote access VPN?" That's something I could do too, because then you're giving me a very specific use case that I can work with. The more specific the use case, the better off it is for me, because then I'm not trying to... it would make me maybe dive into something that I haven't dove into before. So any of those will definitely be useful. Until next time, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Again, if you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell notification to make sure you get updates on what's going on. Until next time, guys, take it easy.